in the air.
I blame this. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another episode of TOROCast. If you're listening to the pre-show, it's Cooking with TOROCast, or listening to it the post-show, which will be after the credits and stuff. So, yeah.
That's usually how shows happen.
Is it how this happens? Tell me more.
Post-shows usually happen after the show, yes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes they happen pre-show. And
Listen,
then I just
let Rose
use my
run the
editing
show.
skills to put it at the end of the show. Don't argue with me. I make this magic happen. I am the wizard. Actually, I'm a sage. Same thing. Alright, so, as you've heard some of the voices already, first off, joining us today, we have Russell. Hey, Russell! How's your sinuses working for you? Enthusiasm.
Time to go back to sleep yet?
I almost fell asleep. You can ask Dan.
I don't have children. You should be able to nap at will.
I should. And I actually slept a good portion of the day yesterday. And not my regular old man sleep. No, this was allergy sleep.
Oh, don't talk to me about sleep.
Yeah, because you don't get any.
No, I don't.
Some
of that's by choice, and
you log. Yeah, I was going to say you log off from raiding at like 4 o'clock, which is about an hour before you get up.
That's a little bit of exaggeration, but
That's completely true.
Okay, 3:59. 3:59.
All right, and that other voice right there is Albie. Hey, Albie, how's the family hour going for you?
Oh, family's doing good. I think they're wrestling downstairs or something.
Fantastic.
Something Star Warsy is happening.
I'm sure if any of them murder each other, your wife will let us know in the chat.
It depends on which one gets murdered and who does the murdering. She could see it as making her life easier.
Fair enough. And that giggling Brit in the background is Michael. Hey, Michael, what's going on?
Good evening. I'm alright.
It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't care what time zone you're in. It's 2 o'clock in the
7 here. I don't care what Americans say.
You've been awake for all of 2 hours, alright? I don't want to hear it from you.
I have.
Speaking of sleep.
Well, listen. I know you got plenty of sleep, Road. And yes, I'm going to bring it up.
No, I was actually going to bring it up myself.
Yeah.
I was going to go ahead and jump on this grenade as it was, because we were having a Skype conversation last night.
Road fell asleep last night while we were all on Skype.
Mm-hmm.
Fell asleep sitting at his desk on Skype and started snoring, and one of the people who's in our Skype channel took the opportunity to isolate the audio from his snoring and send it to everybody in an MP3.
Yep.
And it was very spectacular.
Sadly, for some reason, it's not downloading.
Oh,
I have it sitting on my
pumpkin.
desktop. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I have it.
Thank you.
I've got it too, if you want it. I'll make you another one. I'll just fall asleep and record it myself. It'll be cleaned up at least
So
that
you
way.
definitely got enough sleep.
Oh, I did. Yeah, it was fantastic. That's what the benefit of being on vacation is. 9 days off. Yeah. And no kids. That means I
I
actually
don't know
get to
what
sleep.
this thing is, this vacation thing of which you speak.
Yeah, it's awesome. You should try it sometime.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's going to happen.
Oh, well. Well, from there, if, I guess we can do our contact information, all that good stuff. Right. Alright, good.
What, you're not going to ask us what we've been up to for the past couple weeks?
You think he cares?
Well, it's
Tell
in the
me,
show
Russell,
notes
what
that
have you
he's
been up
supposed
to the last
ask.
couple of weeks?
Russell wants to talk
I'm just
about
brimming
his
with enjoyment.
Pathfinder RPG. Come on.
Actually,
I was actively trying to avoid it. I mean, Russell, tell me more.
Actually, I wasn't going to talk about that. I was going to talk about the new character I'm playing in Star Wars.
So, Michael, what have you been doing? No, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, I do play. Thank you very much. Heck, I'm on a podcast about it.
That doesn't mean anything.
That's true. I mean, look at Sam. He was on this for a while and he didn't play.
Exactly.
I'm on a podcast about it.
And then he left, and
What
people
does
were
that-
like, "Why did you
What does it say
leave?"
about the status of the podcast that I'm on it?
Fair
I
enough.
made you. I can break you.
Oh.
Anyway. Realizing that the reason that I play is so that I can run around with a lightsaber, I went ahead and rolled a new Sith Warrior, because I've actually not played that storyline yet. And
This has nothing to do with me shouting at you to play the character?
no.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember you shouting at me to play the character.
It's because Jugs are the OP tanks, they're the flavor of the month, and we all know that Russell has to play the flavor of the month.
I often do, yes. Although I usually luck into it. It's like I don't seek it out. I just sort of inadvertently roll it, and it's like, wow, really? It is? Huh? How
You're
about?
you're you're an early adopter.
Apparently so. I mean, it was true in Take a Drink City of Heroes. I had three different characters that were flavor of the month. It's like, wow, really? I didn't know this when I rolled them. And no, it's because I like running around, with a lightsaber, hacking people, beating them with a light bat, and having a lot of fun with that. Ran Black Talon on Friday, killed the captain. Well, I wanted to kill the captain, but you know,
Well, what level are you up to?
15.
15. Oh, that means that you're 15. You just got all your legacy abilities. That makes leveling so much fun. Depending on which legacy abilities you have, like when my gunslinger hits 15, it's going to be epic because I will have a level 15 gunslinger that can drop orbital strike, and that's going to make me very happy.
I have all of them.
Anyway, that's
Yeah,
what I've
actually,
done too.
I do have all of the. Actually, no, there is one. I do have all of them.
Are you sure? Would you like to try
I have
again?
a lot of. I
Is
have
that
a
your
lot
final
of.
answer? Is that your
No.
final answer?
No answers.
Okay, but that's what I've been up to.
Alrighty, Albie, carry on.
What have I been up to?
Yeah,
PvP.
really.
Lots and lots and lots and lots of PvP.
Tell me more.
And he won't shut up about it
I-
on chat every day.
No, I won't.
Well, now we're letting him talk about it with his voice.
Yes, well, 2.4 went live, and I was able to use all of the many comms that had been burning a hole in my pocket. And I bought 10 out of my 14 Conqueror pieces, and then throughout the week I got enough comms to buy the rest of it. So I have a full set of augmented Conqueror now on my operative, which also means PvP is not only fun, but I'm now effective. And I really, really like a lot of the changes that they made. We'll talk about it later, but I've been doing a lot of PvP, and the arenas are a blast. And I decided the number one thing I like about arenas is that if you get into an arena with a bad team, it's going to be a terrible experience for about 2.5 minutes. As opposed to in an 8v8 war zone, when you get in with a bad team, it's a terrible experience for 15 minutes. That's actually one of the biggest things I've liked about it. And I got to see some of the new content. I ran all of Oricon on my Assassin. The dailies and weeklies going through there are actually kind of fun. The rewards are decent, and the Heroic 2 can be soloed. You just kind of have to be smart about how you do the champions. I still haven't seen story of the 2 new ops. I've done story mode on Dread Palace up to the 3rd boss, and I've done hard mode Dread Fortress down the 1st boss and banged our head against the wall on the 2nd boss. We're making it to the very last phase and wiping at the very end, so we have to keep pushing at that.
It's because you don't have me there pushing numbers and making all the buttons.
We do need more buttons to be made. That is the biggest problem.
It is.
If you
Actually,
don't know, the boss that we're stuck on is the boss himself is a joke, but it's the fact that there are 9 waves of ads that come in that all do something different, and several of them have one-shot mechanics.
Oh.
One of them has a "I will kill your whole team" one-shot mechanic. And there are 9 separate waves of ads that come from 3 separate areas of the room, and it is a ton of coordination. The actual what you have to do isn't insanely difficult. It just requires massive amounts of coordination with your team, and if one person screws up even in the slightest bit, you're done. It's time to start over.
You know what I say about one-shot kill mechanics? If you put it in your game, you're lazy!
Yeah, there's only one ad that actually does that, where you have a one shot. It only one shots one person, but the other is basically, you don't have a choice. There is an ad type that comes out that has an 8-second channel that if you don't interrupt it, you're done. You're toast.
I
So-
gotcha.
We'll get it. We'll beat it. It's just going to take us a little more coordination.
Alrighty. And Michael, hey, what have you been doing? Where you been?
What have I been up to? I have been grinding Oricon, the dailies. I've been loving it, actually. I really like it. It looks pretty. And that's about it, really. I haven't had a chance to get into the operations yet. Because
Well, that's because you're a DPS on a server that doesn't pug.
that's true. RP servers. Not
Oh,
good for
you dirty
progressive reading.
casuals. Oh, wait. That's right. I used to be one.
You need to switch to Tom's server. He's at least in the EU.
No, but I like my
No.
server.
You need to show that
No.
Welshman how to do it.
I really
Let him
do.
know why I call him your number 2.
But I like my server. It's a good community, so I'll stay there.
Community on a server is actually really nice. Our server has kind of jumped up and down. We're like a roller coaster with the community. It's been very good at times, and at other times you kind of sit back and go, really, these are the people that I'm playing with. It just has its moments, and you take the good with the bad.
I really like that we've got a progressive PvEer in chat who's basically telling you off, Albie, because you're rubbish at PvE. Try dotting more. Brilliant.
I didn't hear that.
More dots.
I'm not paying.
More dots, more dots, more dots.
My dots.
Sorry. My bad. So anything else?
Where's she telling me off in chat?
I think she's talking to me.
I did think of one other thing I did.
Fantastic. Tell us more. Is it Pathfinder?
No,
Oh,
no, it's more important than that.
okay.
Did you get a new phone?
No,
Okay.
I gave money to the City of Titans Kickstarter.
I was waiting
Now,
for that.
do we have to take a drink every
do
time
not.
we talk about City of Titans now?
City of Titans
Yes.
is new. No. City of Titans is a new
This is
thing.
true. I guess for anybody that doesn't know, City of Titans is a private project that has been put together by a bunch of people who miss City of Heroes.
Take a
And
drink.
They put their Kickstarter up this week, and within the first 2 days, they had 2/3 of their money. Actually, within the first day, they had like almost half of it.
They
It
had
was
over half
very,
on the first day.
Yeah, it was very ridiculous. I think they're well over $250,000 right now.
Yes, they are. They have less than $50,000 left to meet their goal.
And they
And they're-
still
and they have
still have like
28
20
days.
something days to go. Yeah, it
28,
actually
yeah.
it's very very amazing the way that that to me that is we always talk about City of Heroes and we joke
Take a
about
drink.
take a drink and all of that. For anyone that didn't play that game, Russell and I met each other in that game some number of years ago, and that still was the most fun MMO I've ever played. It was not the most hardcore, it was not the most challenging, it was not in any way, shape, or form the most difficult or involved MMO. It is the most fun I've ever had in a game, and considering how frequently life kind of kicks you in the butt all the time, having something to go to that's just straight fun is you can't really quantify what that's worth, and it's really cool to see the way the community's coming together to fund this project. And I really hope it doesn't turn into some kind of vaporware, that it actually does come to fruition. Anyway, not Star Wars related, but just wanted to say.
But awesome nonetheless.
All right. As for me,
Now you may go to contact information.
no, it's my turn now.
We don't care what you
Yeah, no,
do.
I was going to say we don't want to listen to you.
All right, as for
You
the
didn't wanna
contact
listen to us.
information. No. But anyway, as for me, I've been trying to get a little more active into this. Unfortunately, Battlefield 4's beta opened up earlier this week, so needless to say, that's taken up the vast majority of my gameplay. Plus, I decided after listening to another audiobook, Audible plug, yeah, that I wanted to finish playing Dragon Age Origins, so I went into Awakening and finished that off this week. And after going and playing that, and then coming back to the Old Republic, I really wish there was click to move. Really, really wish there was click to move. Because I keep trying to do it, and it doesn't work.
You were complaining about that earlier, and I really can't stand click to move.
Well,
And of course,
Okay.
it really is all about what I like and desire.
evidently. But, in real discussion on, anything Tor related, I decided to make another new character because after hearing everyone say that it'd just be easier instead of waiting for my cartel coins to come in to just make new characters and do it all over again, I figured, why the hell not? So I made a Jedi Consular actually this morning, and I gotta
Go
say,
ahead. Tell us how proud you are of the name.
I'm
Tell us.
incredibly proud of the name because there's one thing I will spend more time on than anything when it comes to character design, and that's the name. And I didn't want to use the names that I'd already used on my previous characters, so I decided to name this one Roadside. He's going to be a sage.
gonna
That
be a
way, when
healer?
I go out and heal people, I will be giving everyone roadside assistance.
Oh, God.
I'm a
Okay,
bad
I don't know.
person.
Road.
I'm happy
I have
with it.
I have I have one complaint about that.
I don't care.
How no, it's important that you know this. To
Okay.
tell you how bad that joke is, that's the kind of joke I would come up with. That's how bad it is.
I'm pretty okay with that.
Okay then.
Because I'm the one that came up with it. So it doesn't matter.
Fair
If
enough.
my bad jokes can cause people to cringe, I win. Period.
Good. Okay, well then as long as you can own that, that's what's important.
Exactly.
That's usually what I strive for.
Yes.
The more people hate it, the more you think you've done a good job.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Finally get into our contact information. Wow, it took us a long time to get this far. Anywho, if you would like to get a hold of us, you can go to TOROCast.com to read and comment, hate and subscribe on iTunes, TOROCast.com/feed if you want to use iTunes. Email us, road@TOROCast.com, or road@TOROCast.com. Yeah, that works too. At TOROCast on the Twitter. We are part of the Twankammer family of podcasts at twankammer.com. You can check out their YouTube at twankammer.com, or youtube.com/twankammerent. What the hell am I doing? I don't know. Anywho.
I don't
You're
know.
doing
'cause
it
you
wrong.
Also,
I was
yeah,
reading
you-
ahead.
Doing it wrong.
I was.
Yeah, you did it way wrong because you're supposed to say that the email address is torocast@torocast.com, but no, you said, oh, and if you want to send us a message, send it to road@torocast.com.
Well, who do you think checks the email?
No.
Do you want to know? Do you want to know who did the contact information better than Road?
Not you.
Me.
No. Anyway, if you'd like to help us do better at reading the contact information, you do so by going to twankammer.com/audible to get your free 30-day trial with your free audio novel. I actually started listening just yesterday to The Hobbit. I made it to chapter 12 of 19 while I was at work yesterday. So,
Wow.
it's a damn good read.
Do you listen to it? Do you listen to it at regular speed, or do you use the really great Audible feature that you can speed up books? You know, so
Regular
that-
speed.
I've always wanted to have books read to me by chipmunks.
No, it doesn't actually change the pitch, just the speed.
So it's like having a book read to you by an auctioneer?
Yes. Yes.
No thanks.
You can actually get it to like I want to say they do have it go that fast, but I never really go faster than about 1.3, I think.
Yeah, I listen to everything at normal speed because I
see.
need it to last. I listen to stuff for the length of it because I'm at work for long periods of time.
Well, you do drive a lot for work, do you not?
I do it. I think I drove about 4 hours yesterday.
Okay, if I drove as much as you do for work, I would listen to a lot of audiobooks, but I spend a lot of... I'm at a desk, and I get pulled away from my desk constantly, and I get phone calls, and I get people asking me questions, and anytime I've tried to legitimately listen to an audiobook at work, it ends up... I have no idea
Well,
what's going
I
on.
listen to audiobooks on my
Updating
phone
time.
using the Audible app, and I've got an earpiece that has a button on it, so I just push the button to pause it whenever someone tries to talk to me.
I've done really well when I listen to the audiobooks when I am driving. That works out perfectly. I actually do very like it. It helps to pass the time, and I really do like it while I'm driving, but it's impossible when I'm at work.
Ah, well, teach their own.
Mhm.
Anyway, let's move into the news. So, patch 2.4 has dropped, the Dread War, and we've got a nice little article about it. Right, Albie?
Yeah, I put up... I wouldn't call it an article. I'd call it patch notes.
Well, it's in
Indeed.
article format.
It was. It
Because
really
it
was.
didn't bore the crap out of me like most patch notes do. So, it actually made it so I could
Well-
read it. And it's long.
Well,
really,
I'm
really
going
long.
to say there's a lot of information in these patch notes, and there really isn't. It's more just it's all content. And there was a little bit of class balancing. Power techs and vanguards got some DPS boosts, but for the most part, everything that was in this was all content, and then everything about all the PvP changes.
Right.
I mean, how in depth do you want to get here? I mean, we could talk about the content changes for 2 hours probably.
How about you just pick out what's your favorite part of the changes? How about that? Because I've got one thing specifically that I found as my favorite.
I'm not going to talk about any negatives at the moment. I'm going to talk about the things that I like.
Well, we've got plenty of negatives coming
we'll
up
have-
later in the show.
We'll have plenty of bugs to talk about, but for right now, I'm going to say that the mechanics that I have seen so far in the new ops I really, really like.
Okay.
I like the fact that it seems that it's making a team work together to accomplish a goal, not we need to overcome this boss with brute force DPS because it's an enrage timer. I really, really like the beautiful and inventive mechanics, and some of them are insane. There's a boss in Dread Palace where your team has to split up and go into portals to go to the past, and one of them goes to the future, and you have to do different things in each of those instances to allow the other team and the other timeline to do something, and it is very cool, and there's no way that pugs are ever going to be able to figure it out via chat. I see some very good adventures in pugging blogs in the near future if I attempt to pug the new raids.
Which, of course, you will.
I will. And I think the other thing that really stands out in this patch is the arenas. I really, really like arenas. Arenas are a ton of fun. And like I mentioned before, the number one thing that draws me towards arenas is that you're going to get bad teams. It's going to happen, especially if you're queuing solo. And
I haven't happened to
arena,
me once today. I'm happy about that.
If you queue into a bad team, it's not 10 minutes of hell or 15 minutes of hell. It's not getting face pounded in a hut ball while the other team beats you 6-0 and takes the full match to do it. It's if you're going to get destroyed in an arena, it's going to happen. It's going to happen very quickly. You're going to be in there a few minutes, and you're going to be done and out, and ready to move on to something else. I think the only thing that's a little bit frustrating about arenas is I haven't gotten to see that many of them because they're in the same queue as the 8v8, and you have no, unless you're doing ranked, you have no control whatsoever over whether or not you go into any of the old 8v8 war zones or you go into the new 4v4 arenas. It's luck of the draw.
Right.
So I mean, I've done a lot of PvP in the past week, and I've probably only been in, if it's seven arenas, I think I might be over exaggerating. I'm probably along the lines of 5 or 6. I've only lost one so far, and it was a spectacular loss. We got manhandled, but I wish that there was a way that you could queue for just arenas, but that may draw down the numbers because I have seen a surprisingly high volume of people complaining about arenas on the forums. I don't understand why people hate them so much, but there are post after post after post on the forums of people who saying that they systematically quit arenas whenever they pop. And
what's their reasoning?
Just that they don't like arena style deathmatch PvP, that it's stupid, or that it's brutish. I happen
lacks
very much
strategy.
Yeah, well, it sort of does, and then it sort of doesn't, because there is strategy involved, and you can use the maps to line of sight, and you can stealth, and you can.
That's the same way as saying that deathmatch in Call of Duty has strategy.
It's whoever kills you first.
Yeah.
Really, here's how the arenas break down. The arenas break down like this: who has the best team? Who has the best balanced team? As long as you take equal players, let's forget if the players are just bad. But if you have two teams that are equally skilled players, one team is 3 DPS and a healer, and the other team is a trilogy formate. Okay, is a trinity, where you have
You talk funny.
a tank, 2 DPS, and a healer. That team is likely going to win because your tank is going to be able to protect your healer, while the 2 DPS mow down the other team's healer. And generally speaking, what I've seen in arenas is that whichever team's healer dies first, they lose. There are some exceptions to that, but that's what I've seen. So it is possible that people don't like arenas because of the fact that they're getting in bad teams, they're getting into teams where people aren't protecting the healer, or other people aren't killing the other team's healer, or something, and it just makes it a very quick loss. Now, on the flip side of that, a very quick loss helps you with your daily, helps you with your weekly, because they changed the PvP daily and the PvP weekly. You can get your weekly done now with 15 matches. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. Now, a win still counts for 2, so technically, if you have 7 wins and a loss, you basically get your weekly.
Yeah,
Whereas,
I was kind of
or you
wondering
can
about
get
that.
15 losses and you still get your weekly. And
That's
the
depressing.
daily is now... Well, it is depressing, but it's a lot less depressing than sitting there staring at your weekly that says 2 of 9 wins. It's Monday night, you're not getting 7 wins tonight, and it's your weekly from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure enough.
That got really tiresome for me.
And because it just if you got a string of bad teams, you could go 5, 6, 7, 10, 12 matches without a win, and does your weekly absolutely no good. So a lot of people would just not do their weekly, not PvP, come back the next day when they had a refreshed daily. But now your weekly is 15 matches. You can get 15 matches very easily, especially if you get into arenas. Because like I said, in arenas, a few minutes. That's it. Few minutes. Win-loss still helps your weekly. But they moved ranked. The only ranked now is just in arenas, and you have to queue specially for it. You can either queue as a group or you can queue solo. I haven't had a ranked queue pop for me yet, so I'll let you know next week if I get one to pop. But the interesting thing is that the ranked war zones don't count towards the weekly and the daily, which I find kind of interesting. If you're at 0 of 4 on your daily and you do a ranked, you will not progress that daily. You will still be at 0 of 4. So essentially what they've done is, even if you're someone who wants to exclusively do ranked, if you still want to do your weekly and daily to farm comms for gear, you have to jump down to do unranked, which isn't fun for the player who wants to do ranked for the challenge, and it's not fun for the players who don't want to do ranked, but they want to do unrated. The problem with that is you're now teaming against people who are geared and skilled and wanting to do ranked, and you're getting destroyed by them because they're down there just to get their weekly. May says she can't be expected to play regulars with us plebeians.
Oh, I feel bad now.
I do find it very interesting that the ranked don't count towards the weekly. It doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah,
I would much rather see it. I would much rather see them not punish the people doing ranked. Now, that brings up an interesting thing. One of the things that they did in the 2.4 is they added, you can now buy Warzone adrenals and med packs. You can buy them with cartel coins in the cartel market. Well, the people that use those the most are people who do ranked PvP, generally speaking. So now doing ranked doesn't get you regular comms from doing your weekly and your daily. And so they said, okay, congratulations, you want to do ranked? We're not going to let you get the weekly and daily done from doing ranked, which gives you comms, which you can use to buy med packs and adrenals. But we're going to give you the ability to spend real money to buy med packs and adrenals. I think that was a little bit of a sniveling move. Anyway, I think I've gone on enough.
Yeah,
right.
Save it for the next topic.
Right. So, Michael, Russell, either of you have anything specific out of the patch notes that you are keenly interested in?
Let me think. I mean, I like Oricon in general. The one thing, the patch notes that I did like, that's nothing to do with the new content, is that they've connected all the Rakata transporters on Belsavis finally. So you can move around Belsavis really fast when you go to level.
I have to agree. That was the thing that really caught my eye on it. That's like, ooh, that's going to make leveling in Belsavis a heck of a lot easier.
Yep.
I wish they would have done that back when we all used to do dailies there.
Yeah.
And make things simple? No. Can't do that.
Bioware way.
But that was the main thing that, aside from the content, that was the main thing that grabbed me. That's like, ooh, nice. Especially since, I'm working on that new character, and sure, only 15 right now, but hey.
You'll get there.
I'll get there.
Talk to Bioware. Tell them to give us another double XP weekend. We need a double XP.
I do need one.
We need one bad.
That would be
Okay,
awesome.
hang on a second. Hey, Bioware! Give us another double XP weekend!
You go
I don't know if
pins
they
over.
That
heard
guy
me.
so much.
I don't know if they heard me or not.
Probably
but,
not. You
I
should run out the door and head up the street.
Go by the.
Go knock on their door, see if they're still there.
Go over there and buy one of them lunch.
I'm sure there's at least one intern that's been locked inside the building that's still sitting there waiting for someone
It's
to
the
open
same
doors.
guy who accidentally released 2.4. He's still locked inside the building.
Before we get into that, I think the best thing that I've seen out of the entire patch notes is looking at the bounty hunter changes. They've increased the damage of rail shot, which just makes me feel a little bit more broken. But they have kind of reduced the efficiency of my pyrotech, kind of. He got buffed and debuffed at the same time. So we'll see how that works out in PvP. Once I
Now,
actually
from
start
what I've been
PvPing
told, we
together.
have a DPS PT in our raid group, and he said that with the new changes, he's parsing like 200 DPS more. Now, I don't know off the top of my head what spec he's in because I'm not a power tech, and I don't care about him enough to know what spec he plays. But
It's probably not pyrotech.
I don't know what
people typically frown on pyrotechs, which I'm pretty okay with that. I set things on fire, they burn, and they go really slow when I burn them. So
Road,
they
I'm
can't
going to
escape
let you
me.
know something.
I
It
don't
wouldn't
care.
matter what spec you were playing. I would frown upon you.
Fair enough.
True story.
All right, moving on. So, as this topic is, well, titled Bugsy Galore, that's very witty. Thank you for that.
That was
Welcome.
Michael. That wasn't me.
Yeah, I know. I seen
it
him
was
at it.
witty.
I'm not claiming that one.
I see it
I'll
on the
claim
notes
it.
who changed that, so that's fine. So, Albie, how did that bug topic work for you? It seemed like it was a little long.
Oh, it was very long.
What was that comment you made? Why can't I stop adding to this?
Yeah, I'm gonna preface everything I'm about to say with first, I'm sorry because it's gonna be long-winded, and second, I'm going to say I am normally a whether I have reason or not defender of Bioware and Star Wars: The Old Republic. I love the game. The game is fun to me. I enjoy it. I have fun when I'm playing it. I will defend it up one side and down the other. Unfortunately,
This is not one of those times.
the debacle that went on with 2.4 left me really no ground whatsoever to stand on to defend BioWare in this. It was, I still, I mean, just it was even before the patch even hit, before Tuesday, things went bananas. I actually on Monday I was waiting since we had recorded our previous episode on Sunday, our hard mode episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I told everybody, when the patch notes go up on Monday, I'll put them up and I'll post them on the site, and everybody can, they'll be there when the servers are down for maintenance. And so Monday afternoon, I'm waiting for the patch notes to go up because Amber Green put on Twitter that they'd be up momentarily. And I went to go check the website to see if the patch notes were up, and lo and behold, I see in the dev tracker, I see a message that reads, "As some of you have already noticed, we unintentionally released the patch data for Game Update 2.4 this afternoon at 2:46 p.m. before its scheduled deployment. If you've already begun patching, we recommend you do not run the launcher until after tomorrow's maintenance. If you didn't run the launcher, you'll only have to patch Update 2.4. Unfortunately, if you did or already have run the launcher prior to tomorrow's update, you will need to re-download the entire game content. We apologize for any inconvenience this has caused."
So
The
basically-
forums went berserk.
So basically, that's yeah, there's a problem here. Don't play the game.
That's, you know what? I can't say what that was because Road keeps telling me that we're not changing this from being a PG show.
But I mean, that's essentially what the advice is. I mean, that's
The
how
advice
how I
was-
read it.
The advice was don't play until tomorrow. That was the advice because here's what happened. And actually, if you are not, I'm going to plug Michael here for a minute. If you look up Michael's channel on YouTube, which is Mike, what's your channel?
It's youtube.com/The Cosmic Engine.
He did, and it's a short. It's an 8-minute video. He did his Star Wars: The Old Republic weekly, and he did one of the funniest descriptions of what he thinks happened at BioWare. It involved people pretending to be awake at their desk when they were really asleep, people stubbing their toe and throwing Darth Malgus statues. It involved Eric Musco getting hit in the forehead. It involved Amber Green spilling coffee. It was wonderful. Essentially what happened was at 2:45 on Monday, someone at the BioWare office accidentally hit a button that made the entire patch data for 2.4 hit the live server while it was on. So anybody that was connected to the game got kicked out.
Oh, my
Well,
God.
what's the first thing you do when you get DC'd while you're in the middle of playing?
You go to relog.
Exactly. Well, what happened to everybody when they went to log back in? Started downloading a patch. started downloading a patch that they had realized they did it and already pulled it back. So now you have anyone that was connected to the game at that time, or anyone that tried to log into the game during the interval before they realized what happened, started downloading patch data for the live server that didn't exist. So it corrupted their installation. So they had two choices. There was don't play until tomorrow, or there was re-download the entire game, which pretty much for a lot of people would be still don't play until tomorrow, because the game is pretty ridiculous. It is. I understand that accidents happen, and you know, people are human, and these things occur. But I can't imagine that it's that easy to accidentally apply a patch to the live server. Something went. I mean, Russell, maybe you can.
No, I can't. Okay, I'll be honest.
Something went very wrong.
I have been working in the industry of of software as a service for about 10 to 15 years or so. Something like that. I'm sorry. I don't see how that could happen. I really don't. It is not trivial to release a patch. Unless, because first of all, there's going to be, aside from pushing new code, which, okay, they must have only pushed client code, because there's no way that they could accidentally push client and server code, because when you're pushing server code, judging from all this, there were obviously database changes here. That is not trivial to run. There were obviously, code installations that needed to be run, and probably some infrastructure changes. That there is no way that can be accidentally done. When you're deploying software, you have a bunch of people sort of you're all kind of gripping the table, looking at the screen, double checking what everyone else is doing. I do not see how you can accidentally release a patch to a client. That is just I also defend Bioware. I also love this game, but come on, you have got to be kidding me.
And it really affected a lot of people.
How can you make that as a mistake? I'm sorry, I don't see how you could make that as a mistake. The last time, whenever I see it, judging from my experience, somebody probably lost their job over this. That's how big a deal that is. That is how you do not mess this up. Somebody probably lost their job over this.
Which really kind of stinks, because if there's one thing I don't want happening, it's I don't want this game losing devs.
I hate to say this, I really do, because this is going to sound really cruel, but I'm sorry, for a mistake like that, admittedly, that is not a dev person, that's an operations person. Mm-hmm. They're two different classes of people. You have the people who maintain and run the servers. They're operations people, and they're also nominally the ones who will handle most of the most software deployments. That person, if somebody got canned over this, yeah, they kind of. I'm sorry. I cannot think of a reason why they shouldn't be canned for that, unless the people who are running the EA servers really don't have a frickin' clue what they're doing, and they're like fresh out of college or something. I'm sorry, that is just
Russell.
I'm having to censor myself, because
the more I think about this, hold on. I expected to rant in this episode. I expected Rode to rant in this episode. I expected Russell to comment.
Oh no, because I have done enough software deployments. I know how they go. I do not see how this can happen.
You guys remember that?
Don't.
You guys remember that intern that I mentioned earlier that's still locked inside the Bioware building right now? It was him. That's his punishment.
That's the guy.
Yeah.
I don't know though, because even Blizzard have done things recently that have fallen in line with this kind of mistake. I mean, they've run World of Warcraft for 7-8 years, and they really, I think it was 5.2, 5.1 or something like that when they released it, and it broke their entire game. So things like that do happen.
Well, it's one thing to release a patch that's badly busted because of a bug escape. That happens. I have. I will be honest. I have missed a bug that almost caused a company to get sued out of existence. Yes, I have done that.
Good job, Russell.
What? Yeah, thank you. But this is not something that I can really see any excuse for, because this is like the amount of coordination that it requires to screw up on this level. You know, the only thing I could think of is I sit here ranting about this because I was not expecting to rant on this either. But it's like the more I thought about it, it's like the angrier I've gotten about it. The only thing I could think of is they were supposed to like run a deployment script on the staging server, and whoever did that didn't pay attention and ran it on live. That is the only thing I could think of. Even at that, it's like, oh dear God, really? How?
Yeah, I
how,
was thinking maybe it
how
was
do you
like
make
a
that
test run or
mistake?
trial run or something like that, and they, instead of doing a trial run, they just went boom live.
I think my explanation. I like my explanation more.
Your explanation was the best. I
I'm gonna
wholeheartedly.
I tried to listen to it, but for some reason YouTube would not play it for me. So I'm going to go back and try and listen to it.
Yeah, I definitely recommend going and listening to it. It is quite good. Actually, the day he posted it, I came home from work that day. I took my laptop and I hooked it up to the television and I played his explanation for my wife and children.
I listened to it this morning, and I was very thoroughly entertained.
It's pretty good. It is. It is your Mike. It is your crowning achievement that I've heard you thus far. It's pretty good.
That's what it is.
But essentially, it all comes down to they broke the game for a day, for probably, whatever percentage of the player base plays, but at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Central Time, they broke it, and it took them a day to get it worked out, and there were a lot of kinks with people who had partially patched and people who were it went on for several days after that, but most people got back into the game either that night after a hefty download or the next day when 2.4 went live. And then 2.4 went live, and the patch appeared, the actual maintenance didn't get extended. It appeared to go off without a hitch, and then the bug reports started rolling in, and there were some little minuscule bugs, lots of little tiny bugs, and some very large ones. One of the biggest issues, and I think Mike was as angry about this as I was. Within an hour, within several hours of the patch going live, people realized that the bug in Dread Palace that had the final boss unclearable on PTS was still live, and the op was unclearable, absolutely unclearable.
And I don't get that either. This is something where it's like it's a minority of the people who do an operation. I get that, and that's probably the rationale. But the problem is when you're dealing with an operation, that's like the flagship aspect of an MMO.
I would say it's a minority, Russ. This game is really geared towards PvE. PvPers have gotten very little content. They've gotten very little updates. I would say that if this bug had been in a Nightmare op, I would say that is the minority. But story mode operations, story mode endgame is where the majority of the players in this game are hanging out.
I mean, even big roleplay guilds and guilds that don't actively, progressively PvE are doing story mode ops.
It could be, and my point though is, regardless of that, it's like this is a huge deal. This is a showstopper bug. This is one of those things where if I were testing this, I would be saying, we cannot go live with this. This is what we would call in the industry a blocker, a showstopper. You do not release this broken.
Yeah, I agree.
And
the thing what annoys me the most is I can forgive the Monday blip of releasing the patch accidentally, because at the end of the day that was an accident, whereas the bug in the operation, they knew about it previously for weeks, and it's a quality assurance issue. And as a customer, if you give me a product or a service that is fundamentally broken and not working, then you shouldn't be doing that because
Well, you touched on that
I'm
last
paying for
week.
it to work.
You touched on that last week when you made the statement that BioWare needs to look at this game as it's not a product, it's a service.
Yeah.
And when you are doing something where you're providing a service, you don't have the freedom to ignore something like that and just let it go to live because
it is
your
technically a
client-
service.
because
This is
your
software as a
client who's
service.
paying for that service is paying for you to QA it and is paying for you. So if there's an unknown bug and something that gets out, that's one thing. I understand. Patches are going to have bugs. But you put it on the PTS. You opened it up to have the people who are paying you, mind you.
Yeah.
We're not employees of BioWare.
No, we're
People
paying
that
them.
are paying you to test your content, those people that are paying you to test it identified bugs with it, and you didn't fix them before they went live.
Yeah.
There really is no excuse for that. I
There's
can
not.
understand if bugs come up that weren't identified during testing. I know that Russell will tell you that no matter how much you test something, you're never going to find every single bug. You're never going to find every little combination of things that someone on the user end is going to do that's going to bug something. You're
It's
never
true.
going to find everything.
I will say that.
And I
The
think
key
everyone,
is to fix
everyone
the things
accepts
you
that.
do find.
And everyone accepts that there's always going to be bugs in content, but that bug specifically is a pretty major issue because it stops you from completing an operation.
It does. Well, the other
And-
thing that was bugged was if you went to Oricon and you picked up the Planet Quest. If you run through the Planet Quest, you are then given a mission, which is the operations mission, and it says go do Dread Fortress. People were taking that, going and doing Dread Fortress. It wasn't updating. So not only was Dread Palace, which is the second raid, not only was that bugged you couldn't finish it, the storyline quest that took you from the first raid to the second raid was also broken, and you couldn't finish it.
I mean, I feel like they released it in a this buggy state because they said in previous posts that it was coming October 1st.
Maybe they were going to meet that come hell or high water.
Yeah, and
That
I
has
almost
to be
feel
it.
like, and I feel like, why have you done that?
That's one of the reasons that a lot of MMOs don't give release dates. And yeah, I think you're right. I think that's probably what happened. They said we're going to release on October 1st, and they felt like they had to stick to it.
Yeah,
Maybe they
well,
would have been better off if they just said we're going to release in October,
But
or
even if
we're
they-
going
even
to
if they
release in
previously
the
said-
fall.
Yeah, but even if these previously said we're going to release on the 1st of October, come the 30th of September, if they did put a post in saying, look, there's a couple of bugs that we still need to work out, this may be delayed for a week, I think the majority of the player base would understand.
I think you're probably.
I gotta be honest with
Some
you. I'm
people
gonna
would, some
argue with you
people
on
would.
that one right there. I think that had they actually, the day before said, guys, sorry, we've got to push the patch back a week, I think they would have caught a lot more hell than they would have.
They'd have to give more notice than a day. You have to
Yeah,
give
well,
at least
if-
a week.
give
I mean,
more
if they would have
notice,
gave
it
at least a week, probably most people would have been understanding of it. But I still think either which way, after they gave an announced date on when the patch was coming out, after that point, anything they would have said to push it back would have been met with a lot of ire.
But it's fine. I'm actually just reading one of the summer updates actually, and they've actually said in the summer update we're aiming for October 1st, but it may be later than that. So they've actually gave themselves some leeway in previous posts anyway. So why didn't they just use it?
Yeah,
they
I agree.
Really, they should. They need to
It's
stop.
it's a
boxing
really poor
themselves in.
quality issue that I really
I don't think-
I have no.
You can
Tolerance
say they
for
need to
that,
stop
yeah.
boxing themselves in, but at this point, with the bugs, the issues they've had previously, pushing back release dates, stuff like that have happened all in the past, they've already put themselves in a box. They either do it or the community comes out in outrage. So they have to at this point stick to their word. When they say they're going to do something, they have to do it. Otherwise,
Well, I mean, I guess
it turns out
I
poorly
guess
for them.
every player has a different viewpoint on it.
Right.
I would much rather wait a few days or a week for content that's not bugged. Some people, granted, I don't like being put in a position where I have to make that decision. I would much rather say, you know what? It should come out on time, and it should come out relatively bug-free. That's what I'm paying BioWare for. I'm paying BioWare to test their content and release quality content. And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. But if I'm faced with a choice of being stuck with bugged content or have to wait a week for it, I'll wait every time.
And I gotta step in here and kind of go against my better judgment and what I normally do when I rail against BioWare at this point. We're not really all that certain what bugs didn't make it in the game. Yeah, the ones that have been mentioned previously, they're major and they were game stoppers, but we really can't say for certain that there weren't larger bugs that got handled before then.
I'm sure there were. It was buggy
Most definitely.
as all get out when it was on PTS. I am sure that they did fix a lot of bugs. There were just some of the bugs that didn't get fixed. So it went live, and there were bugs with skill animations, and there were bugs with stuff being missing from vendors, and emotes were missing, and that's fine. I'm not really all that concerned about Kaizen talking too much, which was actually a bug.
The Kaizen talking at all has to be a bug.
Yeah. Those, you know what? I could care less about that. It really was, and maybe I wouldn't be so upset about the operation being broken and about the story class line connecting the operations being broken. Maybe I wouldn't be so upset about that if they hadn't accidentally released the patch and broken the game the day before. I think that looking at the bug list and known issues after the patch went live, looking at it wearing the yesterday's accident glasses, put it in terrible perspective. I think it's it was unfortunate timing, and then they had they had a bug laden patch, and a lot of the bugs were very small, but you put that all together, and you combine all the little bugs, the big bugs, with we broke the game yesterday, and everybody's just all agitated about it.
Right.
If they hadn't broken the game the day before, people probably would have been like, what the heck? We knew this was broken on PTS. Why didn't you fix it? Oh, you're going to fix it before the weekend? All right, good. We're all good.
Boom, right there. That's why they broke it. It was all intentional, so that people would overlook the horrendous bugs that made it into the launch copy. We've solved it. Thank you for listening to TOROCast. That's it. All right. I think we've spent about enough time on this topic.
I'm done ranting. I'm done ranting about bugs.
Okay.
Michael, before we get off of it, I just want to hear you say the word bugs.
Bugs.
There you go.
Brilliant.
Okay. Anyway, we got some answers for the class reps for Mercenary and Shadow. Albie, go ahead and do this because I didn't read either of these.
Did anybody read the Merc ones? I didn't really read the Merc ones.
I read the Merc ones.
Which I should. I do play a Merc.
They were good. I thought they did a really good job on answering the questions. It was a very well thought out answer. They omitted the points that the representative put forward. That the questions themselves were really good. They picked up on a lot of the problems that the Mercenary has in terms of both healing and DPS. And BioWare turned around and said, "We agree." Yes.
Did they give any specifics on what they think they'll be doing to the class in 2.5? Because apparently now
they didn't give any. They didn't give any
a lot of class
specifics.
balance.
What they said was that they are going to be making a few changes and stuff. But what the biggest issue at the moment is in terms of the Mercenary is the whole heat mechanic, and the whole resource mechanic in general for Mercenary. And what they've basically BioWare in their response said, yes, we understand this is a problem. And what they actually put forward is almost a question back to the community at large, saying, do you want this completely overhauled? Do you want the resource mechanic for Mercenary completely redone?
Okay, I lied. I actually did read this one. I just forgot about it.
Which, and to be honest, the way that it was put forward, they were well thought out answers. They clearly took the time. The tone was correct compared to, learn to play your class and heal to full. And the responses I read on the forums, people have appreciated the way that these particular responses were done, and they've commented saying it's nice to get some good answers for once. Which
Well,
is good.
I'm glad to hear that. I will actually have to. I'm gonna have to go through and read it because, like I
So
said, I do play a mercenary.
right there, how would you feel about them changing the resources on Mercenary?
I honestly, I have to go and read the justification for it before
Well,
I answer that
the
question.
way it was, if I'm mistaken, correct me on this, Michael, but the way it was phrased is making it the same way that the sages have theirs set up.
Yeah.
So
Something
it'd
like
be,
I don't
it'd
think
be
I
more
would
like a
like
mana
that.
pool.
See, I don't think I would like that. I like being able to manage my resource pool on my own.
Right.
The problem. The
I
problem is
actually I like that tiered regen, just like on like on my
Like the operative. Yeah.
Um, I like that tiered regen where at certain intervals you regen more than others, which in the case of the mercenary, it's you lose heat more than others. I like that mechanic. I think the fact that when you are playing a mercenary or a power tech, your resource bar to be full has to be empty. I think it's cool for the play style. I think it's cool for the type of class that it is. It brings in the animations for vent heat are cool. I mean, just the whole. I actually kind of like it. It's a reverse mechanic as far as resource is concerned.
Right.
And I've never really struggled too much with heat. If you're a mercenary who struggles with heat, your rotation's bad. But
I don't think that's the case. I have to disagree with you there, because from what I can see, and a lot of people who are playing progressive PvE mercenaries are saying is that it's almost like, depending on whether you're healing or DPSing, you're almost fighting two battles against when you come to a boss. You're almost fighting the boss plus your heat management system, and then on top of that, the complaints were that as a DPS mercenary, your DPS is lower than a marauder's or a sorcerer's, and then as a healer, even though they basically said that we are viable endgame PvE healers, the problem is that it's very single focused healing rather than AoE healing, and they were saying, could we tweak that to possibly have a multi-target Kolto shell or trauma probe?
I agree that Merc healers need some work. I don't know how far I go with saying that Merc DPS is broken, or I mean, I have seen some numbers from Mercs that are obscene. Actually, one of the DPSs in May's Nightmare Progression group is he's a Merc, and his numbers make me want to quit my mercenary.
That's what happens when I look at the numbers for anyone that plays one of the classes I do. I'm sorry, plays any class, because I play them all. Except
the big
for Marauder.
thing about playing a mercenary, especially with the heat mechanic, is you really have to monitor your heat big time. It is the most important thing you're doing. As a general rule, if you let your heat go below 60%, you're done. Because at that point you need to build it back up again. If you go empty, forget about it. But as a general rule, you need to keep your heat below that 60% mark. Actually, no, it's reverse. It's the 40% mark. That's what you're dealing with. You need to be keeping your most heat, the highest rate of venting heat all the time. Now, one of the things that really that I wish they hadn't done is they changed the 4-set bonus for mercenaries on the PvE gear.
Yes, this was mentioned.
You used to have, it would give you a heat reduction on rail shot. Now, what it used to do was before they changed it, what it used to do was you had a skill tree that would reduce the heat on it, and then you had your set bonus that would reduce the heat on it. It would make it free. Well, they changed the skill tree and made it such that you couldn't make it free, but it still only cost 2 heat, which is like nothing. You're talking about an ability that costs 16 heat. You're getting it down to 2. Then they changed the set bonus and made it so that the set bonus, which used to reduce the heat of rail shot by 8, which is what brought it down to that 2, now it increases the damage by 8%, this is not an even switch. So what your end game mercenaries are actually doing, guys that are running Nightmare, TFB, and SNV, they're running the hardest content in the game, they're using the armorings from Dreadguard, the 63 level stuff, to use the old 4-set bonus because it's actually a DPS increase. I think anytime you see that happening, BioWare, if they actually looked at it and said, our players are using level 50 gear because it's giving them better results than using level 55 top tier, hardest content in the game rating gear, something's wrong there. And I don't think something that's wrong is wrong with the resource system or is wrong with generally the class. One of the big things that's wrong right there is the set bonus is bad. But Merc DPS is really good. They're not very mobile, but it is really good, and they put up some really ridiculous numbers, and they're right up there. If any DPS class needs to be complaining, it's Assassins. Anyway, that was my rant.
But yeah, that's Mercenary anyway.
I'm actually going to have to go read it. I would really like to read it because
But the answers were, I have to say, considering the debacle that we had with sorcerers and stuff, the answers were really well done, and I think everyone appreciated having a really good response finally.
Well, the shadow answers were the same way. Those I actually did read, because my main tune is an endgame assassin tank. So I was very interested in the shadow comments because they did double them up, and there's a lot of problems with assassin and shadow tanks right now. They're very spiky compared to other tank classes, and they actually came out with very specific details of this is what we are planning to do with this class to fix the spiky damage they're taking. And their proposal actually isn't a terrible one. It's going to remove some of the nuance of the class and some of the things that make it unique as a tank, but it will bring that class more in line with the other tank classes as far as the spikiness. But basically what they're planning on doing is they're planning on taking away all of the procced heals that a Shadow and Assassin gets from both their saber from the charge they use in their lightsaber, which is Dark Charge, and from stacking procs. Shadow tanks can heal themselves when they have 3 stacks of Harness Shadows, I think is what they call it, when they use TK Throw. And then Assassins get Harness Darkness, and they get a heal proc tick when they use Force Lightning. They're going to remove all that, and they're going to replace it with a whole lot of armor rating. Basically, if I do the math correctly, Assassin Shadows will be able to boost their armor rating by 170%, as opposed to currently what they get at 115%. And they'll also be able to proc a 4% boost to damage reduction, but they'll be able to proc it and it lasts 18 seconds, and they'll be able to re-proc it, and the rotation to get it back is less than 18 seconds, which basically means it should be permanent. And that really should help to kind of equalize the damage that they're taking, because right now an Assassin tank either doesn't get hit or gets hit for a lot. Now it gets better. The better your gear gets, you kind of start, working around it and you just overpower it. But it's still, they still are quite spiky, and I'm very looking forward to them making those changes.
Okay.
Very selfishly, because I play one. But like Mike said, they were good questions. They were good answers. There were follow-ups to the answers because people had questions. How's this going to work? There was interaction between the community and the dev community, and that was really nice to see.
Alrighty.
Agreed.
And now I'm drinking some coffee.
Oh. Okay,
Are we
well,
done?
there's silence there. I
Yeah,
was expecting you to continue, but yeah.
That's it.
I'm done. I'm done talking about that.
Okay, fantastic. So, anything else we want to say about this topic, or before we move on to the meat and potatoes?
Nope.
Fantastic.
I think we've talked enough about 2.4. I think there's a lot. I would really like to, when we do our hard mode show next week, I think that I think we'll probably get a lot. I'd like to get a lot more involved in some of the new content and how it works and the mechanics and things like that. But we'll do that next week.
Well, I just want to say, as far as Oricon goes, for me, I'm doing a lot better about playing the game now instead of just doing low-level PvP. I actually made it to Oricon before I logged out.
Woohoo! Woohoo! Actually, Mike, do you happen to know, or maybe Road, you know this?
What's up?
Do you happen to know if they fixed the quick travel point up at the the eastern end of Oricon where
Man,
the
I
ops
made
are?
it to Oricon. That's it.
Okay.
I don't know. I haven't used the quick travel yet.
Okay,
Yeah, and I
there's
don't really
there's
use
a
quick
bug.
travel
It's
points.
been bugged since, and I don't know if they fixed it yet. But there's a quick travel point because for those who don't
May
know,
says
do
they
the-
did not.
Oh darn it! Because to do the 2 new operations, you can't get there from Fleet. You also can't do you can't do them in the group finder.
Yeah, that annoys me.
You have to do them on Oricon, and you have to go to where they are. Now, if you don't have the taxi spot unlocked, and if you don't have the quick travel spot unlocked, which you can unlock them if you run the full Oricon quest, it ends up
That's-
taking you down there. There's a heroic down in that area.
That's absurd.
It's a pain because if you drive there, you have to drive through a heroic area to get there, which is not fun because it's full of champions.
Drive faster! Drive faster! I can only go 110%!
It's not that big a deal for me. I play all tunes that can stealth. Not everyone does that. And there was a problem where you could get there, unlock the quick travel point, and the next time you logged out and logged back in, you forgot the quick travel point.
Yeah, I saw people complaining about that on Fleet
Ugh.
the other night.
It makes me laugh
Pretty funny.
that you can't group find the new operations because it really takes me back to like World of Warcraft Burning Crusade days where you have to you have to spam general chat to find an operations group.
Well,
It's
the
really-
funny part about that is where do you spam general chat? Do you do it on Fleet?
Fleet.
Do you go to Oricon?
I do
Where
on
should
Fleet.
where should you try to find a group for the? If you're trying to pug the new op, should you try to do it on Fleet or should you try to do it on Oricon?
The Barons.
the Baron.
All
You do
right.
it. You do it. You go to Steel Canyon.
Russ went there, so we're going to move on. So, for this week's Meat and Potatoes, we're actually going to turn, well, most of it over to Albie, because as you've seen in the show title, or should have, this episode is Albie's Family Hour. So,
Yeah,
Albie,
I
I
don't
Turn
read...
it over to
I don't have anything
Albie.
to
And
say.
Michael has input on this one here too.
Well, you're going to start
do.
off because it's based off of your post in the forums, and I did read it. And
It
I was,
is.
I didn't even realize that was your post to begin with because of your server, whatever, your name. There we go.
my forum
forum
name
There we go.
is,
I don't know where I'm
is
going with
in
this.
no way, shape, or form anything that you would know. My name on the forums is Ocho Quattro.
And I know this, but I didn't think about it. I didn't realize it was you until I got to the end and seen your signature down at the bottom of the post. I went, oh, that's why he wants to do this.
Why is
Gotcha.
it 84 in Spanish?
Why is it 84 in Spanish? Well, my initials are AD, and I am a fourth.
Oh dear God.
And
Oh my
yeah,
God.
none of my children are named Albie, by the way. There is no fifth. My wife told me that if I wanted a fifth, I was marrying the wrong girl. So I am a
Not
fourth.
fifth
My initials
child,
are AD.
but, you know.
There's a guy I work with whose initials were MJ, and I used to call him MJ all the time, and he started calling me AD4. And if you say 84 really fast, it sounds like 84. And I decided really cool people who have numbers for names say it in Spanish. So I went with Ocho Quattro.
I hate you so much.
Nerd.
And to be fair, Albie, you know, you couldn't have an Albie the fifth, but you know you do have a fifth at least once a week, I would imagine. Alcohol.
No, I'm paying for too much. I'm paying too many medical bills for that. As soon as the therapy's over, though, oh yes, a fifth once a week. The expendable income will be back. Anyway, what Road is talking about, and I like the fact that we have a good mix here. You have me, who I'm married and I have several children. Mike, who's a single parent and has a young child, and then you have Russell and Road,
I hate
who
kids.
are married. Hold on, and I don't think Russ hates kids, but he doesn't have any. And Road
I
apparently
don't.
hates kids.
I hate
So
kids.
we have
That's fine.
we have
I'm not a
a
good person.
good mix of lifestyles and opinions on this. And recently, I have started playing Star Wars: The Old Republic with my 2 older sons. They are 7 and 9. And 7, in my opinion, is kind of right on the cusp, I think, where he might be a little too young. And I just figured I would give it a shot. The 2 of us would just do it together. You know, I don't play all 3 of them. I let them each start a character on my wife's account, and you know, a couple nights a week we'll play for an hour. And I figured I would let them try it and see if they can handle the keyboard dexterity, see if they can understand what's going on in the game. They can both read, so that's not really an issue. So I figured we'll give it a try, and I let them. They both, for whatever reason, decided they wanted to play Imperial. They both decided they wanted to play Sith Inquisitor, and they both decided they wanted to play an Assassin. I guess Darth Maul is just too cool when you're a 9-year-old kid and you have to play as Darth Maul. So that's what they both picked, which means congratulations. When I play with them, I get to see the Sith Inquisitor story over and over and over because I'm playing a Sork with one of them. I already have a 55 Assassin, and they're both playing Assassins. So I'm working on seeing the Sith Inquisitor story 4 times now.
Do they always choose the same items?
They don't always choose the same conversation options, but they always choose the dark side options. They're totally enamored with having dark side points. They don't really understand what their characters. Maybe my 9-year-old does, but they've done fairly well. And one of my older son is playing a tank, and my younger son is playing an assassin DPS. And I've even taken them. I've taken them into the group finder. We've done Hammer Station together in the group finder, and I'll go in with them, and we'll go. I'd have their chat turned off, so because I can't control what other people are saying in the chat, and they can read, and I'd like to kind of keep it, kidified for them. And we went in, we did Hammer Station in the group finder, and when I got in with my 9-year-old, and I told him, I said, okay, you need to do exactly what I tell you to do, and I explained threat to him, and I explained how taunt worked, and I told him what his guard did, and then I gave him a challenge. I said, I want you to guard that other DPS, and then for the whole raid, for the whole flashpoint, I want you to keep me from pulling aggro from you. And he did. He did really well. I only pulled from him like 2 or 3 times, and I never pulled a boss off of him. So he did really well, and we one-shotted the flashpoint. We got to the end, and the other people in the group were, thanks for the good run. And I actually said in the chat before we left, I said, congratulations. Your tank tonight was a 9-year-old kid, and they were really surprised. But generally, what I did was I went to the forums and I said, I want your opinion. How young is too young? Do you think this game's okay? What's your opinion on kids in the game? Because I've had instances where I've gone in to do a raid with a pug, and you get somebody into my vent server, and it's a 10-year-old kid. Initially, I'm thinking, man, this is terrible. This kid's not going to be good. Now I have to censor what I'm saying, and
no.
Yeah, no, I do. Now I have to, sometimes they do great, sometimes they don't, and so I put this post up, and I basically said, look, here's my rules. They're never allowed to play without me. I have all their chat turned off. They don't ever get on voice servers. And somebody made a comment in the thread that I'd started that I thought was a very good way of describing kids in MMOs, and that is they are welcomed guests. The game is not geared towards them. The game is not made for them. The game is rated T for a reason. The game is not made for children. However, if a child, regardless of their age, is able to play their class, not wipe groups, have fun, and help other people have fun, then they are welcomed guests. But when it comes to, I don't expect other people to not use foul language because my kid's there. Because really, the game's meant for those people, not my kids. I don't expect BioWare to not put flirt options in the game or not have torture dark side options because the game's not meant for my kids. They're welcomed guests. And I think it brings up, and Michael kind of went into this also when he did a video around the same time as I did this, where he was talking about, kids in video games and all these terrible things you see happen. Because I took a lot of flack on the forums from people who were giving me a hard time about
you sure did.
The game's too violent, and I can't believe you're exposing your kids to that. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I can't recall anything in any of the Star Wars movies, which my kids love, that's any more or less violent than things that happen in the game.
I mean, come on. There's a part of the movie which is kind of an iconic scene that involves genocide.
Yeah. I think the thing that's a lot different is, while I have no problem with my kids playing Star Wars, okay, it's highly fantasy stylized violence. It's still violence, but it is highly stylized, and it's very much a fantasy This is you're swinging a lightsaber and shooting lightning out of your fingertips. It's make believe. It's pretend. It gives a kid a reasonable way to differentiate between what's real and what's fantasy. My kids get enough of what's real when they hear terrible stories about, things that happen to kids that are in middle school in our school district. And there have been some pretty terrible things that have happened over the last couple of years, and they hear about it on the bus. And the real world and real violence is it's real to them. And then you bring in Star Wars movies, and they watch TV shows, and they watch they like to watch Avengers cartoons, and there's highly stylized good versus evil violence, and they understand it's not real. Maybe because I'm helping them understand it, maybe because I don't know what the dividing line is there, but I don't see how you can equate. I'm not playing Call of Duty with my kids. I'm not letting them play Grand Theft Auto. You take Grand Theft Auto, yeah, you know what? That's going to confuse a 7-year-old kid because of the type of violence. But this game, with the level of violence in this game, no, I'm perfectly acceptable with it, and I caught a lot of flack on the forums.
I personally don't see a huge problem with this, and yeah, I don't have kids, so I'm looking at this from the non-father perspective. But for those people that listen to the Banhammer and have been listening to it for a long time, every now and then I'll dip into my subject or my thoughts on the ESRB rating systems. There are a lot of games out there that, quite frankly, responsible parents, need to pay attention to the ESRB ratings and judge accordingly whether their kid is mature enough to handle the content within. When it comes to teen, that's kind of a really gray area. And obviously neither of your kids are teenagers, so it wouldn't apply to them either way. But I think in certain cases it can be acceptable, and I think as a parent, you are doing the responsible thing by really limiting what they're seeing as far as you can, and controlling what they are doing as far as interaction with other players. So personally, as someone who believes that the 13-year-old kids need to stay the hell out of my first-person shooters, which is another reason why I don't play Call of Duty. I prefer Battlefield. Not that kids don't play Battlefield, but I don't have to pay attention to them. I think the Star Wars is kind of like the happy medium, really. And, I mean, yeah, we've already talked about how in the movies there's stuff like genocide, there's romance, there's a lot of these other things you're going to experience in the Old Republic. But take, for example, a popular children's book during the 90s, the Animorph series. You know how that series ended? Genocide. It wasn't happily ever after for all the kids. In fact, they all went to live pretty crappy lives afterward. So we brought the real life into Animorphs, a freaking kids novel. Frankly, the content in that book series, far worse than what's in Star Wars The Old Republic, and that was in the 90s. Think about it, folks.
And I think that, Albie, the way you're handling it, I think you're at the point where you're using it as a just not only as quality time with your kids, but as a teaching tool in many ways. That's not only a very responsible way of handling it, but I think it's very commendable because you're using this as, okay, here's something that we can do together. And I think even if there were, even if I believed there was any negative out of the kids playing, I think that the positive would far outweigh it because of how you're treating it.
Well, I see it this way. If I was if I was an avid fisherman, I would fish with my kids. If I was really into football, I would do that with my kids.
Even though you'd be wrong.
I would be wrong. But as long as my hobby isn't drinking at a bar all weekend, I think that there is something to be said about letting a kid come in and enjoy the hobby as long as it's not entirely in and of itself inappropriate, because they get to spend time with mom or dad, or they get to it involves them in something that makes them feel connected. And like I said, as long as it's not just inherently inappropriate for them, I have no issue with it.
Yeah. No, I think the way you're handling it is very well, and I commend you for it. But we've already discussed that, as we know from your avatar in Skype, you do parenting right.
I do. There's lots of Star Wars going on in my house.
For those that don't know, his icon in Skype is his kids all dressed up in cosplay of Star Wars characters.
It's also it's the same as my Twitter.
Okay.
That's what happens when I'm a geek, I'm married to a geek, I'm married to a geek who cosplays, and we have children. So obviously everything they do is going to be geek related. But Mike had some really good points about the same thing too. He posted a video about it about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago, and it was a good video. And his essentially what his video says, I'm sure he can speak on it more than I can, was kids in video games. It's not about the kids; it's about the parents.
Amen.
Way too often, and I've heard lots of banhammers where you guys have talked about this, where way too many people, grandparents and parents walk in, buy a game for their grandkid or their kid, never look at the rating, never even ask the guy at the store, hey, is this acceptable for an 11-year-old? And because I have to imagine that anybody who works at your local game shop who's worth their salt is going to tell you, yeah, it is, or you know what? Why don't we take a look at this other title?
So what you're saying is not a damn one of them knows anything about video games, and they're just out to make sales. Got it. I'm sorry, I have a GameStop across the street from me. They're all idiots.
But the whole point of his video was parents need to get involved. You can't hand your kid a video game and say, leave me alone, and that's what happens too frequently. And I think that's what it comes down to, whether it's Star Wars or anything else.
I'm an advocate of video games as a medium to be used in other forms of life. I mean, you can use video games to inform, educate, things like that. And video games are about bringing, they can bring people together, bring families together, make friends. I mean, MMOs are a prime example of that. I mean, some of the best friends I know I met through MMOs. And as a parent, you have to be actively involved in the whatever forms of media your child is consuming, and if you're not actively involved, then you're not being a very good parent, because you wouldn't. It's like with video games, you wouldn't go and buy your 12-year-old child an 18-rated slasher film. So why are you going to buy them Grand Theft Auto 5?
Right?
It doesn't make any sense.
You're right.
Just because video game has game in the title doesn't mean it's child friendly.
Absolutely not. I mean, look at Manhunt. Imagine how many, and that's banned in a lot of countries.
Yeah, and
in fact, I think it was banned in Europe
most
entirely.
Is people saying it's video games? It's the video game's fault for these kids going out and hurting other people or shooting people, and what it primarily is, it's not the video game's fault. It's either that particular person has mental illness, or it's the parents' fault for letting that child have access to that particular video game. Simple as.
Well, that got a little bit off topic from Star Wars in general, but
I really don't think it is. I believe that it is directly in line with what we're talking about. I mean, Star Wars is obviously the primary focus, but when it comes right down to it, you have to bring in the
game we're
comparison.
talking about.
You have to bring in the comparison, because it's leaning toward the Old Republic. That's obviously what we're here to talk about. But you can't talk about this single video game with this subject and not talk about the other games and how they are vastly different. It's part of the argument. But really, I think the biggest thing we can take away from this is that you, as a parent, are being responsible. You're playing games with your kids, not using games as a crutch to, do parenting for you. And I think that's the most important thing people need to take away from
that's
this.
what they have DSs for.
You can still see them, and you can still take them outside, but at least they're distracted. Got it. Okay, I'm actually pretty okay with that.
You know what? Is that it right there? Is that what Nintendo DS stands for? Is it Nintendo Distraction?
Distracting system. It's the Nintendo distracting system.
Distracting system. Okay, I'm good with that.
All right. So, does anyone else have anything to say about this topic, or should we move on?
I think I've said enough in general.
Michael?
Yeah, we can move on.
Okay. So, as Albie said near the beginning of the show, or was it pre-show? I don't remember. But either way.
We were already streaming. I don't know if we were recording, but we were definitely streaming when I said it.
Anyway, you may or may not have heard this, but as Albie liked to point out earlier, this part of the show is, it's described by 2 words. Road rant. Something I'm pretty well known for, I think. So this actually just spawned, this morning when I was playing, and I happened to be running around Fleet, and I noticed in the GTN, there's this jacket from one of the new cartel packs, which is just a jacket. There's no shirt. It's just showing off the chest. And of course, I only play male characters. So here I see this nicely formed washboard ab, stomach, blah, blah, whatever, with a nice jacket on it. And I think,
It's the
wow.
unfettered trench coat.
Exactly. I think, wow,
Unfettered.
that is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life. Thanks! I'm glad we could have that costume in the game. And then I turn around, and no sooner do I think about this, there's a female character named Voluptuous standing there with this shirtless jacket
I
and
saw
a thong
her on
on.
Fleet last night.
Yes,
I
same
saw
character.
her.
And
She's
so
a
she's got a
voluptuous
shirtless
legacy.
jacket and a thong. And I think, bravo, Bioware. You've added another piece of slut gear to the arsenal of slut gear in this damn game, and I hate slut gear. It's the same reason why I don't play most Korean MMOs, because I don't think that female avatars should run around in chainmail bikinis and be effective whatsoever. I think that, hey, that's an easy target. I should be able to hack them in half, because there's nothing guarding them from me cutting them in half. I like functional gear. Sorry, that's just how I am. Now, with that in mind, as I put this post on Twitter, one of my followers happened to link me to a thread in the Old Republic forums, and those that know me know I hate the Old Republic forums because it's not what Bioware forums used to be. It is really the Mos Eisley of the internet, full of scum and villainy and stupidity that just blows my mind. So, I happen to be linked to this thread, and it is quite possibly one of the most amazing threads that I have ever seen in my life. So, this thread is all about acknowledging the fact that, well, we need to have more slut gear in the game, but not for women. Oh no, it needs to be justifiably put
I've seen
toward
that
all people in the game. There needs to be more slut gear for the men. And really, I can't argue that logic, because quite frankly, if we're going to have it for the women, we need to have equal, or, some equality here. It needs to be there for the men too. And this person has gone through the laborious task of photoshopping a lot of pieces of gear which, quite frankly, show off the manly man abs and the nice, well-formed pecs and whatever else you have you. There's even men in thongs. Why the hell not? I don't know.
Hold on, I need to ask you a question.
'Kay.
First of all, I sent you an image in Skype that you have to look at so you can rant at me also. That's the character I'm currently on.
I don't know how I
Second,
feel about this.
is that the same thread that has the whole comparison on that the male pant bulge isn't big enough game?
No. I don't know. I've only read the initial post, which is just nothing but images. But all it is basically this person has taken 2 screenshots of character A, taken the one with armor, without armor, and then gone through and selectively removed the piece, basically spliced it, so you've got the pecs showing through where there shouldn't be pecs, or, however else you want to phrase it. And I gotta be honest with you, some of these pieces of gear actually look pretty damn awesome. I wouldn't mind having some of these in the game, to be honest with you. But as a person who does not play female avatars, and quite frankly finds it when people do play these slutty characters, most of which are men, and they're looking at characters in a video game for their own arousal. I don't understand it, I don't like it, and quite frankly, I don't want this in my Star Wars. But that's just how I feel. Does anyone else have any thoughts on this? What are we doing with this?
I agree. We totally need to have that gear. I'm 100% with you on that.
Shut up, you. You play female characters.
I do.
He does. Do you have any male characters, actually?
I do, actually. Compo, among others. You remember?
This
You remember?
I do.
Yes. Okay.
Go ahead, Michael.
Here's my thing, right? I have no problem with Bioware having sexualized costumes in the game, but I agree it needs to be. I don't like it having sexualized costumes just for females, just to attract that teenager group, that male teenager group to the game. I believe that you should have, if you're going to have slut gear, as you call it, for one particular gender.
I'm sorry, there's nothing else you can call it. It's slut gear.
You need it for the males as well.
Damn right.
And I think you need. Another thing that annoys me about the game in terms of its character creation is that the fact that you can't have a obese female.
That has been a huge complaint, yeah.
Because I believe. Here's my thing, right? I don't like the fact women and men, you get all shapes and sizes, and that's a good thing. Everyone's different, and you should have that, and you should reflect that in your game. Frankly, you shouldn't. Not all women are like supermodels and size 0, and you shouldn't have that reflected in the game, because you should have equality and you should promote diversity. EA themselves are all about diversity, and they're always talking in press conferences about they're pro everything. So you should reflect that in your game, and you should have equality across the board, and you should actively promote diversity in your game. That's my opinion. Anyway.
I agree. And quite frankly, they're so limited on costume designs in this game right now, with the exception of multiple different colors. The hell, they could use the suggestion. In fact, I think they might have taken one already with that jacket in mind. Needless to say, I'm a little frustrated.
I understand what you're getting at. It just, I think the same thing sometimes when I see, when I see characters that just look absolutely ridiculous with, the costume that they're wearing. But it doesn't really bother me all that much. It is what it is.
No,
people are going to play how they're going to play.
But this is the point is though that it's not the costume itself that bothers me. It's the message behind it. It's the message that girls should be wearing slave outfits, and men should be wearing big armor pieces, and that's not the case.
And you got to think about that too. How many different slave outfits, quote unquote, or servant outfits, as they like to call them, are in the game? I count at least 10. At least.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
I can at least say, yes, I will go out there and be the guy and own that I'm the guy who always, plays the female character for probably not wholesome reasons, but I never honestly saw the appeal of a lot of those a lot of the outfits personally, but I don't know, maybe I'm just getting off topic, but I do.
You heard it here first, folks.
Very appropriately
Freudian slip at its best. Thank you very much.
Freudian slip. I was serious. It's just I'm probably getting off topic about that. Shut up.
Sorry, I'm currently having a hard time right now because my neighbor's barbecuing and my window's open.
But yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I knew I had a point there. I don't know what it was. I knew I had a point there.
Fair enough. All right. I think that's enough for that topic. I think I got my point across. It pisses me off a little bit.
You got your point across, but that exists in every single MMO.
It does, and I'm tired of it.
That's the point. But that's the point. It shouldn't.
And then again, this is coming from the guy who does a show about Elder Scrolls Online and is frequently talking about playing the Naked Nord. So, I don't know if I really have room to talk here, because I want to run around naked in that game. Nah, that's just how I am.
But you're playing a naked male character, are you not?
Absolutely.
Okay. Maybe you just really... I'm really surprised that you don't fall in line with Mistress LeBeau and really, really like...
Corso?
Corso.
No, actually, I think Corso needs to be airlocked immediately.
If you like looking at naked male characters, I hear he has a very taut bottom.
Only my own.
I don't know.
I'm a narcissist like that. Anyway, so I suppose
maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe they'll make some. Maybe they'll make some really, really provocative male gear.
I think we just need covert armor for everyone. Done. Don't even need different disguises. Covert armor for everyone.
Covert armor, in a lot of cases, makes you look like you are wearing more clothing than if you wear some of the actual armor.
True enough.
And
that's kind of sad.
Looking at that thread, I have to say, I don't know if it's necessarily provocative, but the one with the guy with the red hair, I mean, he looks pretty badass. I'd play that character.
Like I said, some of those designs actually look really good.
Wait a minute. Did you say there's a Ginge?
There is.
Woohoo!
All right, so we're going to go ahead and move toward the closing of the show.
Before, as the show circles the drain.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to
Or
go
as
ahead
the
and
show-
plug the drain
as the
before
show
we go
approaches
completely
2
down it.
hours.
Exactly. Actually, at this point, it's only an hour and 35 minutes. So, yeah.
I
Anywho,
could talk some more. We could hit 2 hours.
we don't need to do that to people.
No.
Well, we all know how the chat feels. They feel that I should stop talking and let the Brit talk more.
Yeah, and you should. Don't we have more commenters? I think we had more commenters. You need to amend that.
Let me see. Let me go take a
While
look.
I go through the contact information again and screw it up. All right,
Yes,
so
our commenters. Why don't I just call them out right now?
okay, go ahead
Go
and call
for
out
it.
our commenters.
We did have a lot of commenters. We had. I gotta pull it up because we had people comment on several things.
Okay, now which one are you going to do? The hard mode
Hard mode.
commenting or the?
The hard mode.
Yeah, because they
we
did the
had.
previous one from the. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Go
we
ahead, move on.
had. We had Vandal. We had Rock. We had Pac-T commented on one of the articles, and I think that was it.
Okay, if we
I
missed anyone, it's
commented.
Albie's fault. So there you
I
go.
commented.
I'm
You're not
calling
included.
You out.
Dude,
I'm not
I
calling
call-
you out.
I
I'd have to
always
call
call you
myself
out.
out.
I'm surprised you don't. I know you.
All right. So before we really move on into anything else, I forgot to add the guild spotlight to last week's TOROCast hard mode, which is where all guild spotlights are now going to be. So I will be putting that in next week's hard mode when we do the editing for that.
That poor guild. They've been waiting so long.
Yes, well, nobody reminded me, and I had to do a hasty edit because neither you nor I could get together and get the editing done, so I could teach you how to do it. So anyway, that will be put into next week's TOROCast hard mode. Sorry about that. TOROCast shoutouts. Do we even have any? I forgot to look. No, we don't.
I don't know. You've got the Twitter going. My
Oh, we
tweet
do.
deck is on my work computer.
Russell says something about just tie them up in the backyard with a bowl of food and water. I don't know what
Yeah, that
that's
was
even
talking
about.
I
the
think he was
comment on
referring
kids.
to my children,
Oh,
I
okay.
was.
which I think I hear them in the backyard. I don't know if they have a bowl of food and water out there, but I hear them in the backyard.
Fantastic.
Uh,
At least they're still alive. Yes?
Okay,
I have proof of
I
life.
was gonna say one thing, and then I looked at the live stream, and well, okay.
All right. If you would
I'm
like to get a
awful.
hold of us, you can do so by going to torcast.com to read and comment, hate and subscribe on iTunes, torcast.com/feed if you use iTunes. Email us at torcast@torcast.com or me, road at torcast.com, at torcast on Twitter. We are part of the Swancammer family of podcasts at swancammer.com. Check out our YouTube at youtube.com/swancammerent. And of course, if you'd like to help us out in any way, shape, or form, you can do so by going to twancammer.com/audible to get your free 30-day trial with your free 1 token for 1 novel. It's awesome. Get it. I'm listening to The Hobbit. I'll probably finish that tomorrow.
Well, you're on chapter 12 of 19.
I am. So probably another 5 hours, maybe? I don't know. I
See,
forget.
I do listen when people talk.
Sometimes. TOROCast hard mode is back. We recorded the last episode, episode 4, which is technically episode 1 for these guys. We're going to keep on moving on with that number because the previous hosts were, well, failed and dropped off the face of the earth, I guess. Or maybe they were on Alderaan when it exploded. I don't know what happened there. That was a long time ago before I ever came around and took things over. This is what matters, so listen in next week, same time that we record this episode live at Twonkhammer, or twitch.tv/Twonkhammer. You can go ahead and put your comments and questions to them during the show, and they will answer them near the end. Something we're going to start working into both shows. Other podcasts. The Bandhammer did not record today. We are putting it off this week. Sam had some issues that he had to take care of, and he's going out of town, so he will be unavailable for that podcast until next week. As far as TSOcast, the Twonkhammer's Elder Scrolls Online podcast, we'll be recording live on Wednesday around 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We are starting a new podcast next Monday. So you can tune in then to hear what we're doing the podcast about. Specifically, we cannot give any details until we do our pilot. So look forward to that. It'll be Michael, myself, and Sam. Possibly one other. We're trying to work that out. We don't know yet.
They're going to do a show entirely about Pac-Man.
That'd be a very short podcast.
Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Not even Miss Pac-Man, just all things Pac-Man.
Yep. We've got another couple of podcasts down the slope that we are working on behind the scenes. We will let you know when we have more information on those. Now for our contact information for each of our other podcasters here, aside from myself, the most important one. Oh, I'm sorry, did I say that? Albie, where can we get a hold of you?
I am at Albie81 on Twitter. You can also get me at Albie@TOROCast.com because I finally have a TOROCast email.
Ooh. Is it TOROCast.com or TOROCast.net? I don't remember.
It's .com.
Okay, fantastic.
.com.
So it's Albie@TOROCast.com. And I actually will respond if you email me.
Me too.
No, you
Lies.
only respond if it's hate mail.
Possibly true. Michael, where can we get a hold of you?
You can get a hold of me on Twitter at CosmicEngine99. You can come follow and subscribe to me on YouTube at youtube.com/thecosmicengine. And you can send me emails across YouTube if you so wish.
Fantastic. If you'd like to watch any of the videos that we mentioned during this episode, you can find his YouTube there and do so. You should do it. It's pretty funny. And
Well, not all funny.
no, but the important one was the one that made me
Yeah, the
laugh.
important-
It was great.
Yeah, you know, I don't care if you don't watch any of Mike's other videos. I really don't care. Mike cares,
I do.
but I don't care.
I care.
You
I'm not
definitely
gonna lie, I
watch
care.
the video about the 2.4 debacle.
And you should also subscribe. He'd appreciate
You should
that.
subscribe and watch all the videos. Don't listen to LB, he sucks.
Fair enough. And Russell, where can we get a hold of you?
Well, you can, of course, follow me on the Twitterverse at Kahn265. That's KAHN265. Or you can email me at russell@torocast.com, and I will reply, whereas Albie will not.
Everyone's
Okay.
got a TOROCast email except me.
We'll get there.
Please resolve.
Just give it. You got to be here for at least 4 months before we can do anything for you. Sorry. It's just how it works. Bureaucracy, man. It's terrible.
That
Yeah.
America.
It's how it works. We're Americans.
Crimea,
We're awesome like that.
River.
All right. If you would like to get a hold of me for your guild spotlights, questions for the host, suggestions for topics, or just to say hi, or hate mail, we got that too. You can send all of those to road@torocast.com or road@twonkhammer.com. And if you'd like to stalk me on the Twitter, you can do so by going to @thatroadguy. Hate and subscribe, as always. Thank you from all the hosts, and for what
That's
it's worth, that's